Hi, Beth and I want to talk to you today about what an attacker might want from you. So Beth, there's really three things that in general that an attacker would want from you. So let's talk about the very first thing. What's probably the first thing that an attacker is going to look at you and want?
The first thing that comes to mind that somebody might want from me is valuables. Money, anything that's worth money, my phone, my possessions. It could be even loved ones. If I have my granddaughter with me or some baby or a child with me, those are things that somebody might want. Some of that I'm going to fight for, and others are not worth fighting for.
So when we talk about values, maybe it might be a necklace or a charm or something that your grandmother gave you. And I got to ask you a question. If someone came to you, put a knife to your throat and said, "Give me all your valuables," would you hesitate giving that necklace or that brooch up that you inherited from your grandmother?
Well, Rob, I would love to be able to talk somebody out of taking that from me or telling them they can't have it. They can have all my money and my rings and whatever else they want. But hanging on to something just for sentimental value, I don't think my grandmother would want me to lose my life over that necklace.
Absolutely not. Fighting and putting your life at risk over a valuable doesn't make sense.
Material things can always be replaced.
Yeah. The second thing that an attacker is probably going to want from you, if you've given all your valuables up and they're still there, they're still intimidating you, they're still threatening you, what would be the second thing?
Well, I think that then they might want something to do with my body. Either a physical assault or a sexual assault, unfortunately.
So, this is not a very comfortable thing to talk about, but it's a reality that we have to deal with. So we understand, first one's going to be valuables, anything that's valuable to them. The second thing, in all likelihood, if they're still there and they're not leaving you, you need to understand it's going to be your body, either through a physical assault or a sexual assault. And the third one?
I think the third thing an attacker might want from me would be to take my life.
You know what? If you're going through all of this and you're living this nightmare and someone is, threatening you with a knife and you've given up your valuables and they're still there, understand this is going to really get bad for you. They're either going to come after you physically, sexually, or they may even come after you for your life. And in today's society, we deal with all kinds of different people. Mental illness is a thing that we have to deal with today in society. And Beth herself will share with you her own experience. She had an incident with someone who suffered from mental illness. Another thing that we have to deal with is drug addiction is becoming more prevalent in our society. And when you're dealing with someone who needs a fix, they'll do anything that they need to get the money to buy drugs.
Absolutely, and regardless of consequences sometimes.
Sometimes they don't think about it. And talking about consequences, that brings us sort of to the next topic. There's three things that attackers don't want. Beth, share those with them, will you?
Well, the number one thing, I think an attacker does not want to be caught.
That's for sure. Last thing they want to do is get caught. Second thing?
They definitely don't want to be identified.
And that can happen in all kinds of different ways, right? We talked about cell phones, taking pictures of them, and how that can increase violence. Another thing, though, that they don't want attention being drawn to is if you're creating noise. Possibly, you're screaming or yelling, or if you're in a car and you're honking a horn or bringing attention to that, they don't want that. And what's the third?
Attackers generally don't want to be hurt.
That's right. The last thing they don't want is to be hurt. So understand that. Being identified, they don't want that. Being caught, they don't want that. And the last thing is being hurt. They don't want that. And before we end off with this little chat, I really want you to understand something. Anything that you have that's valuable to you is not worth fighting for. Don't put your life at risk over a necklace, a pocket full of money, a watch, a backpack. It's just not worth it. If someone is going to rob you, the wise and smart and intelligent thing to do is give them what they want. Don't bother risking your life over something that might cost a couple $100.